In my teaching career, I've been asked about one topic more than any other. In the midst of a fascinating lesson covering the intricacies of Boolean algebra, some inquisitive young mind will ask me what I think about AI, artificial intelligence. That tends to derail my lesson, as I have a lot of thoughts about it. AI is a fascinating concept that has excited science fiction authors since computers were a thing. Now, it's becoming science fact, and we're hearing about it all the time. But what is it? Well, AI is the phrase that we use to describe machines that can learn for themselves, and they apply that knowledge that they've gained to new, novel scenarios. Whilst on a wide scale, this could be deemed to be machines thinking, the reality of being able to create a computer that can learn for itself, think, and talk to us is not the reality we live in. This type of AI, deemed true AI, is something altogether different from what we've achieved so far. In reality, the version of AI that we have today is not quite as fancy as you'd think it would be. Put it this way, we're in no danger of a robot uprising whilst AI is what it is at the moment. Currently, most AI is either machine learning or AI in name only. For instance, the AI that you experience when you're playing a video game is the most surface level form of machine intelligence there is. Those NPCs, the non-player characters, are usually just following a series of rules that have been programmed into the character by a human. What we see as NPCs making decisions, following us around, even helping us battle enemies, all of this is just a complicated mashup of code. That sort of explains why everyone hates escort missions. Now, don't you dare run out into that fire, Natalia. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, pants. So, if gamer AI isn't really AI, then what is? The thing we've got to remember about computers teaching themselves how to do something is that machine learning is what we've got at the moment, ML. This is absolutely the new hotness in software right now, as the technology's got to a point where it's able to do something quite amazing. ML is a process where machines learn how to do something by being fed lots of examples of it. This is called training data. These examples need to be huge in number, but if we feed a machine learning algorithm enough training data, then it can learn to do things scarily accurately. Machine learning is used for everything, from identifying human faces in photographs to detecting cancerous growths from X-rays and even writing essays for people. Machine learning is built into your phone so that it can understand your handwriting or read the text from a photograph. It's a really powerful technology because the machine works out how to do something for itself. So we don't have to spend our time explaining in precise detail how to do every little bit. The machine learns it all from the correct examples it's given. AI, as we currently know it, is not the Skynet future that we thought it might be. A real, general-purpose AI is something that could be deemed to be alive. A true thinking computer is a long way off. Whilst ML allows computers to be able to do some breathtaking things, we still haven't got close to passing the Turing test. I mean, you all know how frustrating it is to talk to a bot when you're trying to get to tech support. Those bots aren't going to be taking over the world anytime soon. So, if AI isn't currently producing sentient killing machines with Austrian accents, then what's so good about it that companies will spend billions of dollars creating chips to speed up the process of machine learning and stick it in every device from a smartphone to a toaster? Well, ML is great at categorization, fantastic at finding a type of thing amongst other types of things. So if we were to train it to find Wally, then Wally would no longer be able to make me furious by hiding in plain sight on that page. So imagine that you wanted to build a machine that could do the job of a medical doctor. Let's say, for instance, looks at scans of body parts and identify if that scan showed something cancerous or not. Well, ML would not only work brilliantly at this, but it has already been done. And in fact, it's more accurate at doing that than the medical professionals, not to mention that it's much, much faster and, of course, much cheaper. Machine learning can automatically identify members of your family or your friends in your photographs. It can build an understanding of how to safely drive a car. Modern AI techniques are turning repetitive work that were too complex to be successfully programmed by a human into almost magical working solutions. It's absolutely fantastic. Now you might be thinking that this is great. No one's going to be Skynetted and all those really onerous work scenarios can be automated away. What's not to like? Well, unfortunately, because of the way in which AI learns, and that's from the data that we provide it, most AIs develop some form of bias. Imagine training a chatbot by feeding it all the writing and conversations on the internet. That's the internet, home to Reddit, 4chan, and let's face it, probably any multiple of 4chans, and an enormity of fascistic nonsense. Well, we can see what happens because when Microsoft tried this, they used all of Twitter as training data, and the chatbot turned into a hideous racist. Racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, all of this is an unfortunate reality in the world we live in. And if a machine gets trained on that data, and it includes any of those, then it learns those terrible human behaviors. AIs are used to support judges in sentencing, and they tend to give harsher sentences to people of colour, and that's mainly because it's based on training data from previous convictions, which clearly haven't been immune to some level of racism. People of colour are also more likely to be falsely identified as people of interest by police when they're using facial recognition cameras at events. Again, this is because the data sets that are being used for training are predominantly of white people. So the machines, the AIs, just haven't been able to see enough differences in the small amount of training data given on people of colour. If we're going to entrust decision making or even just decision supporting functions to AI, then we really need to be 100% sure that there's no bias in the training data used, whether that's intentionally or accidentally. Otherwise, we'll turn societal embarrassments into something implemented in software, which could have terrible ramifications for years to come. Now we're in the very early days of this level of artificial intelligence, so everything we've seen so far is just the surface, the very tip of the iceberg. The application of this technology is massive and could lead to the automation of much more than ever happened during the first wave of automation in the 1970s and the 1980s. Now the big difference is that the old kind of automation was only possible on repetitive tasks. AI-based automation will allow us to automate knowledge work, decision making that requires high levels of technical expertise. And so for the first time, many professionals will have their work automated for them. And that means that we as a species can achieve so much more. Let's take the CGI work done in the movie Justice League for an example. Removing Henry Cavill Superman's moustache was something that needed to be done by a team of visual effects artists. Months and months and millions of pounds were put into this. And this YouTuber got the deepfake AI to do it for him on a £500 computer, and arguably it's better quality. That's making the process of good CGI quicker, better quality, and freeing up those CG artists to work on better things. Modern AI technology means that in our lifetimes we're likely to see cars that can drive themselves, meaning fewer accidents and easier commutes. We'll see AI-based assistants that improve from being like Siri to being like Iron Man's Jarvis. AI will open up a future where human decision-making is supplemented or replaced by computers. This means that lots of complex thought processes can be sped up and made more consistent. But we need to be mindful that as we build this AI-enhanced society, we don't also enhance those biases and unfairness that exist in our society. AI has massive potential, but we need to be careful about how we do things.